And now on the line is Labour Party Senator from Kildare, Mark Wall. Mark, welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much, Darren.
Mark, we're doing this interview today on Near FM on Thursday the 24th of March, and I know that in yesterday the 23rd there was a great development in Seanad Éireann with the passing of the second stage of legislation you and your party have put down. Before we talk about yesterday, Mark, could you tell our listeners on Near FM a bit about the history of this legislation in general that you have put before the Oireachtas, and then tell us a bit about your reason for putting it down?
Yeah, thanks very much for inviting me on, Darren. I suppose that this started, I'm elected a senator about 2 years. I've previously been a county councillor for 11 years, Darren, so I have a lot of public representation. But in the last 2 years or so, when sitting down with my friends and sitting down with family, one thing kept coming at us, and that was the amount of gambling ads that we were seeing when we were trying to enjoy our sporting events of different nature, be it football, be it horse racing, or any sporting event. And there seemed to be a tsunami of gambling ads coming at us. So in talking to Oireachtas colleagues, they felt the same. So we sat down and we drafted the bill that as you say, passed second stage last night in the Oireachtas, and that's a very good day for those that are suffering from gambling addiction, because like we're having today, Darren, we're having a conversation about gambling, and unfortunately there are approximately an estimated 40,000 people in this country who suffer from a gambling addiction. So that's how we came about that. My family and friends, my Oireachtas colleagues, were all talking about the number of gambling ads they were seeing, the harm that they were doing to Oireachtas colleagues, constituents, when they were meeting them in clinics. And so we decided to do something about it, and we introduced the Gambling 2021 Prohibition of Advertising Bill, which is, as you say, passed second stage in the Oireachtas last night.
I've been following the progress of the Gambling Control Bill, now planned to be called the Gambling Regulation Act, through the Oireachtas for a few years now on Near FM. I've interviewed Barry Grant from Extern loads of times on the legislation. I think that it's remarkable that not only will the bill the government are bringing in, but the bill, your bill in the Labour Party and advertising, the both of them might be passed. I watched some of the discussion in the Seanad yesterday on the internet. You must be delighted with the cross-party support for your legislation, are you, Mark?
Oh, absolutely, Darren. I think this is an issue that affects everybody, Darren, and you know that's why there was such cross-party support last night. And a number of my colleagues in the Seanad have been speaking about this over the last year or so, and they were glad to support the legislation that we brought forward last night. You are right, the control of the gambling bill was first mentioned in 2013, and we've waited way too long. You know, like, that is unacceptable for those that are suffering from gambling addiction. And at last we're seeing the government, who are about to bring forward their own legislation, and of course in the Labour Party we brought our legislation through second stage last night. So we're hoping that will give hope to those that see no end, and unfortunately there's so many people in that scenario at the moment, and that they will see that there is hope there. But more importantly, we want to make sure that those that are enjoying gambling can do so, and that they're not then going into this life of gambling, which is going to affect themselves, their family, their workplace, and their communities in a bad way. And that's what this is all about. It's about protecting those most vulnerable and ensuring that if they are gambling, that they can enjoy it, but that they're not faced with this life of misery, like that so many people that I've spoken to in the last 2 years. And some of those stories have unfortunately been very horrific over that period of time, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted to continue with this legislation, listening to those people who've experienced gambling addiction there.
Your bill might even be passed before the government's bill. Is that a real possibility, Mark?
There's always a chance of it, Darren. It obviously has to get a bit of government time now, and then in fairness to the Minister, he accepted what we were trying to do last night, and as you say yourself, the government didn't object to it, and they supported it last night. So it all depends now when the government legislation, the regulatory bill, is going to be before us. There is talk of that coming in, May, June, and maybe, towards the end of the year. But what we will be doing, we will be following our own bill and making sure that government keep after that as well. And, like everybody has said last night, that, there was a lot of good in the bill. There's a lot of changes some people would like to bring. I accept that. As with every piece of legislation, there has to be, committee stage where people discuss it and go through it. So That's what we hope to do. We hope that the bill will be adopted by government in the quickest possible time. It will go through the Houses of Oireachtas. But look, we're having a conversation about gambling addiction. We're having a conversation about those that need help. And I think that's the most important thing today, Darren, and the most important outcome of our discussions last night. It's a conversation that I will continue to have on behalf of those people that need that conversation. And I know you mentioned Barry and External Problem Gambling. They're just one of the great organisations that we have that are helping people in this country. And, you know, that's what Oireachtas members and legislators should be about, trying to help people that need help. And as I say, I've been contacted by so many people over the last 2 years that need that help, Darren.
Okay, Mark, can you tell me what is left in the process before your bill becomes enacted into law?
Yeah, so the next stage then is third stage and committee stage, where people can bring forward amendments if they need it. So, Darren, and that's the next stage. And then obviously it would have to go through the lower house or the Dáil in this stage. That's the way the passage of the bill. So look, we're gone to two stages at this stage, I suppose, and we've got the passage through, as you say, second stage last night. There is unfortunately still a little bit of work on it, but thankfully, you know, there was no opposition last night. In fact, there was an awful lot of support for it. And that will continue the conversation over the next couple of weeks and months that people will have. And as I said, finishing up last night, Darren, the most important thing is to let people know that if you have an addiction, if you feel that gambling is taking over your lives, there are so many people like External Problem Gambling, like Coomera, that are out there to help you. So always pick up that phone, or there's always going to be somebody at the end of it, you know, like, and that's what I've learned over the last 2 years when talking to people with addictions, that they've gone for help, they've sought help, and there are people there. I think that's the most important message that we can get out to people today, Darren.